Hey, it's Squidly. One of the things that backpackers generally like about backpacking is that there are very few hard and fast rules. You kind of just hike your own hike, do your own thing, and go backpacking the way you want to do it. Having said that, here are 12 generally accepted rules about backpacking. The first one, unsurprisingly, is following the 7 principles of leave no trace. Generally speaking, these 7 principles are aimed at you minimizing your impact on the environment. And I will add that there may be a series on this coming up soon. The second rule is carrying the 10 essentials for hiking or backpacking. And these include some form of navigation, whether that's a map and compass or a GPS-enabled map on your phone or a GPS device, a headlamp or some other form of illumination. Yes, even for a day hike. Some kind of sun protection, whether that's sunscreen or a sun hoodie or gloves or just something to keep from getting just completely fried by the sun if you're in an exposed area. A first aid kit. Now, this doesn't have to be an extravagant first aid kit that's big and bulky and heavy with all kinds of stuff for every possible emergency, but at least something to treat minor scrapes or injuries. A knife or some kind of blade. Something to start a fire, whether that's matches or a lighter. A shelter, something to protect yourself from the elements. Along with that goes extra layers or extra clothing to protect yourself from changing weather conditions. And finally, the last two in my mind kind of go together, some extra water and extra food. Rule number 3 is a little bit of research and planning into the area where you're intending to go, just so you have some idea of the lay of the land and the resources that are out there and available to you, in particular water resources. Number 4 is obtaining the proper permits and understanding the regulations for the place that you're going to be, because different places have different regulations for the number of people in your party or fire restrictions and camping restrictions. So just knowing those in advance puts you in a better place for being able to go out and enjoy the outdoors without getting yourself into a little bit of trouble. Number 5 is sort of opening up a can of worms, and that's just packing light. Packing as light as you can, but also taking the stuff that you need in order to be safe and comfortable. Number 6 was already mentioned in those 10 essentials, something for navigation. One of the worst things is going out in the backcountry and being lost and not being able to find yourself. Number 7 is fire safety. Observing fire restrictions and also knowing your stove and how to cook with it without setting the rest of your campsite or the whole forest on fire. Number 8 is how you interact with wildlife, keeping a safe distance. I think recently especially we've seen people approaching dangerous wildlife thinking that it's like a zoo and that you're somehow protected from these animals. These animals are going to protect themselves. So keeping a safe distance, but that also means keeping your food protected from them. One of the worst things that we can do for wildlife is exposing them to our food and getting them habituated to human food and having them associate people with food. That's a recipe for disaster. Number 9 also points back to the leave no trace is waste management. Digging a cat hole for human waste and also packing out your trash. Number 10 goes back to those 10 essentials. Weather preparedness. Having the proper layers for changing conditions, whether it's heating up or it's cooling off. And also precipitation. Being cold and wet is miserable and has the potential to cause hypothermia, which can be life-threatening. Number 11 is having an emergency plan. So what do you do if you get injured on trail or you have gear failures and you need to get off trail? That goes back to the being prepared and planning ahead and knowing in advance your bailout points. How can you get off trail and sort of self-rescue if something goes wrong? And finally, number 12 is wilderness etiquette. That is how you are kind and polite, not just to the other people, but also to the wildlife. Yielding to the wildlife, give them the right of way. So if you're about to have an intersection with some wildlife, you stop and let that wildlife go. And then also how you interact with other people. Keep in mind, other people go out in the wilderness sometimes for the exact same reason that you are. They want a little bit of solitude, a little bit of quiet, a little bit of escape from the hustle and bustle of everyday life. And going out and affording them that privilege in the same way that you want to enjoy it is just common courtesy. Okay, those are 12 basic rules for how to go out in the backcountry and go backpacking and hiking and enjoy it. As much as we really don't like a lot of rules, I think those are pretty basic. But I also admit that I'm sure I missed some. So in the comments, do me a favor. Tell me what I missed. Tell me something that I should have put on this list that I didn't, or tell me something that I should not have put on this list that I did, but be nice about it. And on the way out, don't forget to hit like and subscribe.